Hey everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It's lunchtime, so therefore it's Liverpool news time. I'm Ste, delighted to be joined by an effervescent Jamie Cranford today. For those watching, you can see the fabulous shirt. For those listening, you'll have to just take my word for it. That's a glorious shirt. Does that reflect your mood?
It's one of the summer collection. It doesn't necessarily reflect my mood. It's about the weather. I'm trying to draw the nice weather out of this country, which is difficult. But it's work today.
Have you the bees like that one? Because I've noticed around Liverpool, I was having this conversation the other day. We're letting grass grow longer, aren't we? In certain areas, trying to,
rewilding. It's called
rewilding. But yeah, there was a shortage of bees. Like that's a dangerous shirt to wear when there's an increasing bee population,
especially if it's got jam on it and stuff like that. Which this one hasn't, because this is fresh out the wardrobe. So.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, Jay. You look at $1 million. Let's start talking about some $1 million or £1 million deals. Then, nice. Yeah, we're getting some compliments on the shirt today. Dazzler says, "Wow, that shirt! Yeah,
thank you, Dazzler.
It's a dazzling shirt. Let's put it. It is. I'm on fire here. Absolutely on fire. Let's talk, Jay, then, about Georgie Mamardashvili. We'll start there. The latest reporting out of Spain, and the guys over at Anfield sector have done a good job for me on translating and aggregating this for us. So this morning reports that Liverpool raised their offer to sign Valencia keeper Georgie Mamardashvili. Yeah, I'll zoom that in for you. Look at that. There we go. Go on. There we go. Fixed amount of €35 million with variables taking it close to the 40 million asking price, what Valencia want. There's since been another update on that one. I want to switch tabs because Valencia and Liverpool FC continue to negotiate for Mamardashvili. Liverpool still not reaching that €40 million guarantee. Valencia asked that the bonuses will be easier or it will not be done. Progress made, but Liverpool's still not there yet. It feels like now, Jay, we're getting very, very close to this happening. It's just the phrasing around what those add-ons are to get it to 40. So Liverpool might have put something in there that was a bit longer or less likely to happen. Valencia wants something obviously that's more likely to happen so they can get their money. But I don't know, it feels, and who knows, listen, it felt like we were going to sign Martins with Mendy, so you should never count your chickens. But it does feel like there's definitely something happening here where it's at least from the Spanish side, the report in Spain is this one's getting closer.
The thing, I guess we're quibbling over add-ons and things like that isn't the whole point that he's not actually going to be at Liverpool for another, at least, I've heard possibly 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Valencia have got the right to quibble away, negotiate as hard as you like. It's your prerogative. But like some of these add-ons, you might not be getting them for 5 years, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The other thing with this transfer is, the possibly what may become to be known as the cursed summer transfer window of 2024. As soon as I saw that, I thought, I really like the player based literally on Georgia in the Euros, because I haven't watched him at Valencia. But it's mad with the globalization of football, isn't it? I remember seeing him decent keeper, this fella. Bet you he's playing for Dynamo Tbilisi. Someone could pick him up for hardly anything. No, he's played for Valencia for 2 years, so he's worth 30 odd 40 million. The kind of curse thing about it is, as soon as I saw that, I thought, well, I don't want Alisson to go anywhere for 5 years. I remember you were on a show the other day saying you could play till he's 40. Van der Sar played till he was in the Champions League final at 40. I don't like it. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't see him being prepared to be the next Queeve Kelleher either. He's going to want to play. Slightly nervous about Alisson's future for me with all this, yes. But it does sound like it's getting close to being done. And look, worst comes to the worst, and we do lose Alisson in a year or two. He seems like a good candidate as a potential replacement.
Yeah, I suppose as well. Chris spoke to Ian Graham, didn't he, recently on the show, and obviously he's no longer at Liverpool, but they do a lot of stats work, and a lot of the stats guys, again, I haven't seen it myself, but they all say Mamardashvili profiles as the next great goalie.
Yeah.
And if Liverpool are worried about Alisson's future and where that lies, obviously he's under contract for a couple more years, but we don't know if he fancies a move after that. I think you can definitely talk about the injuries, and that's something that you're going to have to, players don't often get less injured into their 30s. Often injuries can happen again, so I think they may be worried about that. So I think it's actually quite clever to future-proof yourself. I've been saying that a while. Again, the timing of this is a bit crazy because Liverpool obviously need other issues as well, but that shouldn't take away in isolation this. I suppose if Liverpool are haggling over €5 million or whatever that is, a couple of £1 million. at some point they're going to have to either bite the bullet and accept that he's worth the money or he's not. Like, I don't think this is one where you have to rush it through, because if you don't get him, I don't think it would be the end of the world for them. They're obviously doing this because it's, again, opportunistic deal that keeps coming up. However, at some point, you've got to make your mind up. If Valencia are saying, listen, it's this, by all means, you can accept it, but this deal hinges on him finding somewhere to go out on loan. There's talk that Bournemouth are those people, but now they're getting a bit antsy according to some reports, and they've maybe asked, along with Wolves, what Aaron Ramsdale, because rightly so, Bournemouth can't sit and wait and twiddle their thumbs for all this to pan out as well. Like, at some point, someone's got to make a decision. He's either worth the money or he's not, and get this done. Otherwise, it's not going to happen anyway. It's going to fall. It's going to collapse anyway.
Given that he's their first choice, you could see, like, it means everything to them to get the right deal. Like, have we sorted out the whole issue of him being loaned to an English club?
So if it's going to be Bournemouth, Liverpool will have to pay the transfer fee this summer with an agreement to buy him next summer, like they did with Naby Keita.
Right, yeah.
And then Valencia can loan him to Bournemouth for the year. Okay. If Liverpool buy him this year, then we can't loan him to Bournemouth. He'd have to go somewhere else, maybe back to Valencia or somewhere. So, but if the Bournemouth thing is part of this, then yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I was going to say that might be a contributory factor to it. I mean, he could equally go back to Valencia. I mean, maybe I suppose a bit depends on Kelleher. When's Kelleher going to go? Because we all think he's going to go at some point. If say Kelleher went next summer or in January, is Yaros good enough as a number 2? If you've got Mamardashvili in Valencia or a Bournemouth, I guess that way. If he's on loan for maybe the next 2 years, he does one at Valencia, one somewhere else, or something like that. Then my Alisson paranoia is not necessarily too bad, because then maybe he could do a year at number 2 at Liverpool. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, lots to be figured out. But like you say, not necessarily the priority area for most fans, I think, goalkeeper. But I'd be pleased if he comes, because he does seem like a good goalkeeper.
I suppose this is a new regime, right? So they can't always be blamed for the regimes of the past, and I think it's fair to say that, whether it was last year, the year before, the reason Liverpool are in certain issues with certain positions is because they didn't do this. They didn't have the next one. They didn't have Fabinho's replacement when, and I understand the Fabinho exit was kind of more sudden than he thought, but it was clear he'd shown signs of decline. Yeah. Liverpool were happy to take the money, and they didn't have the next one in place. Maybe Stefan Baccetic was just a bit too raw. He was about a year or two away, perhaps. And then they end up scrambling around, and before you know it, there's record bids for Caicedo, there's Lavia, you end up with Endo, and Endo's been good, don't get me wrong, but he probably isn't the long-term solution for the position. This new regime might have identified the goalkeeper as actually that's a problem, because Kelleher wants to go and play first choice now. Yeah. Alisson wants to stay around for a little bit, but maybe not for a long time, therefore we need to do it. So I think we talk about like Liverpool didn't do this in other positions. It wasn't this. It is a new regime, and if that's the first thing that they've decided is to, we need to look ahead as well. I kind of get it. I'd like us to sign players now, and I think we should, of course. We'd like to play against Brentford or beyond. Yeah. But they're actually doing something that that wasn't done previously, and left Liverpool with a couple of holes in the squad.
Yeah, no, I think it is sensible business. You want to have like a bit of if you imagine your checkout at the supermarket. You want your shopping evenly spread, don't you? Like, if the start of it's the young players, just go work with me on this. The start of the conveyor belt's the young players, and the beep bit is the players leaving. You want an equal, you don't want loads piled down this end, because then there's going to be a big load of empty space, isn't it? And we were a bit like that with the midfield. We got rid of, and you know what? I think considering, because I remember that going into that summer, thinking we need to get rid of Fabinho and Henderson here, and we need to do this, and Milner's going, and I was thinking there's no way they're going to do all of them. And then the Saudi bids came, and it's like, oh right, they are. And it didn't totally ruin the squad. It's not like losing more or less a whole midfield hasn't taken us 5 years to recover from. We were in the title challenge for 30 games, 31, 30, something like that. Won a trophy obviously last year. We seem in decent shape this year. So yeah, I think it is sensible business, but we need to. I think that a really perfectly run, smooth club. You've got and when they talk, I mean, even with the business with Yoro, I was thinking like he's 18 and he might be great. But
It's a lot. What you
I think you want a centre-back to be 22, 23, like, you know, it's a very, very big call to put down on an 18-year-old. I think you need that nice spread on my metaphorical supermarket conveyor belt. You need people all over the place.
I suppose the thing with Mamardashvili would be as well, we've got a comment here, he's compared to Oblak, signing for 40 million now and loaning him out makes a lot more sense than waiting for Arsenal to leave and paying nearly 100 million. That's from JD. I think we'd all agree with that, and that's kind of the point. Liverpool didn't do this, and by then Mamardashvili will have, he could have in theory at least a year of Premier League experience if the Bournemouth thing goes through. There's a lot of variables with this one, but as it stands, nothing's happened yet, but it feels like there needs to be movement on this soon, Jay, because this isn't just one where you might be able to wait till deadline day and do it, because this whole thing about the loan is a factor. It's Valencia, if they're going to sell him, they need to reinvest in a goalkeeper, you think, or spend some money. Bournemouth, if it's going to be Bournemouth, they're not going to wait another 2 weeks to get some fella on loan. If they're worried about, it's Neto, isn't it, as their goalkeeper? Yeah. If they're worried about his level or the rotation of their goalkeeper department, they're going to want this sorted as well. This isn't one that you wouldn't think can drag on, because if it does, it ends with Liverpool not signing the player.
Yeah. The other thing with not getting it done in this window is everyone now knows you're interested. I mean, it's not like he was a secret, and he'll be on all the scouting lists of all the big clubs, but what if Ten Hag gets sacked and United want him next summer or whatever? You know what I mean? There's all these different big clubs.
Yeah.
If he is going to be the next Oblak, then, which I'm sure we'd all like to see, then that would be a transition from the best goalkeeper in our lifetime for Liverpool, and he's probably, there's probably only maybe Clements ahead of, he's in the conversation of the top 2 or 3 best goalkeepers Liverpool have ever had. To transition from that to the new Oblak or the next sort of Balkan superstar goalkeeper, because there was Hamdamovic, wasn't there? There's been a few decent ones over the years from around that part of the world. We're avoiding, I remember, you know, I'm getting on a bit now. Some of your younger listeners won't remember Peter Schmeichel leaving United, will they? Like, you know, they had Taibbi, Mark Bosnich. They took Fabian Barthez was a World Cup winner for France, but even he always seemed dodgy. Took them till Van der Sar. That was like 5 years.
Well, you can use Liverpool as the example. Before Alisson, Liverpool, between Pepe Reina, at the end of Pepe Reina, they tried, of course, Mignolet, they tried a bit of Loris Karius, Danny Ward, got to go. Like, that's a position you can't mess around with. So if you think he's great, I've got no problem, go and get him. But like it was mentioned there, as long as they're doing other deals as well, then I suppose that's the... Yeah,
I don't think any of us are going to be particularly happy. I think it was around this time last year where we were thinking, is this window going to be a bit rubbish? But then we pulled a few out at the end. Endo did his job, as much as it seems like Slot doesn't rate him. There was points in the middle of the season where we were like, this Endo was actually maybe a bit of a snip.
Liverpool needed Endo at certain points, 100%. Yeah.
So I remember feeling a bit like this last season, and probably 6 months after going, that window was actually all right, you know. But I can't see myself feeling that if they sign nobody apart from a goalkeeper who they might be loaning out for 2 years, and they've lost 5-6 players, you know. We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been something. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it has been quite something. Let's move on then to potential incomings/outgoings. I think this first story kind of ties into both. So again, David Ornstein wrote in his deal sheet on the Athletic again. We can't bring you the Athletic. It's behind the paywall. Not allowed to do that. We can bring you the Anfield sector. Bring it up, Joe. It's fine. We can bring you Anfield sector's aggregation of it again. Yeah. Fair play to the lads there and ladies there. It says, Marc Guehi is appreciated by clubs including Liverpool, who are assessing centre-back options in case both Joe Gomez and Sepp Vandenberg leave. But as it stands, Newcastle are the only club in meaningful talks with Crystal Palace, that is, of course. I was on the podcast yesterday and we had a big conversation about Joe Gomez, and it was like, okay, we're going to sell him. You can't sell him unless you've got something lined up.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's Marc Guehi. I don't know, but David Ornstein dropping a name casually, even within an article, makes you think he's obviously knows something along. Whether something's advanced or it's just an appreciation of the player. I don't think that's by accident. I don't think David Ornstein will just do that without something behind it. Now, Newcastle, for what it's worth, are talking bids of around 60-65 million for Marc Guehi that haven't been accepted. Yeah. So if Liverpool are going to get him, it would be a big fee. I suppose, though, Jay, if part of that fee comes from selling Joe Gomez for £40 million, you're getting a couple of years younger at that position. Maybe, maybe someone who doesn't, if Joe wants to leave and Gay wants to join, you're getting that in terms of like wants to be there. Gay's still very versatile. No, he played centre mid at times a little bit last season. So from that point of view, it all kind of makes sense. If, like I say, if Joe Gomez leaves, someone like Gay could potentially be on the cards of a replacement, and you go and beat Newcastle to his signature. It's clearly for sale. There's a price on him.
Yeah.
It's just, can you meet it?
It's funny, actually. I think Joe Gomez's level is a bit higher than this, but I wonder if Palace could sign, because he play every week.
It's not swappy.
Or something. And this was before this story came out. Yeah. The other thing about David Ornstein is some of these transfer rumour type, we've all seen them. It's a bit like the old one-armed bandit is another metaphor for you. And it's like, Spurs, like this person, and where you're like, that's feasible, but really, he doesn't tend to do, though, he doesn't tend to just throw names in willy-nilly, does he? So there's probably something in it.
If this isn't, with all due respect, a website that is like just desperate for, like, with all due respect, David Ornstein, his work speaks for itself, and I don't think he's one of those, well, I know, I'm pretty sure he isn't someone who wouldn't clarify stuff like this. He's just making this up. There are certain outlets out there that you can accuse of just going, Liverpool like such and such, this or that, unnamed source clicked it.
Yeah.
I just don't think David Ornstein's reputation in the business of being like that high up in the business, you don't get there by doing bullshit like that, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So there may be something in it. It's the own. When I heard the saw that Gomez was out of the squad the other day, and then there's this story, he might be wanting to leave. I thought that's okay as long as Liverpool are being big dogs about it and are going to sign in. It's a lot of pressure to say a Van Dijk replacement, but someone, and Kwanzaa's made great strides. Even before him being subbed off at half-time, I'd have said there's nothing wrong with Kwanzaa being your fourth best centre-half. Like, that's what a strong position to be in. Mm-hmm. And there's also, especially what's happened this weekend now, there's nothing wrong with Kwanzaa missing 4 or 5 games in a row because other players are, like, he's 21. It's not, if he was 34, then you might be saying he's finished, but, like, he's at the start of his career. Kwanzaa missing games doesn't mean that he's not going to develop into the player we all want him to develop into.
So long ahead of them. Yeah.
So if we get somebody like a Gay, that's the only. I would be annoyed if we sold Gomez unless we brought in someone of that stature. And I know there's been talk about Inacio before, and there's loads of other centre halves have been linked. Someone of that European level, international capped, not with all due respect to 21-year-old Europeans, but like such and such who plays in Belgium, and you're like, could that work? You need someone who's going to be good now, and I think Gay would fit that bill. My only probable issue with it is the money. They're already talking about turning down quite sizable bids. Like, we're getting into 85-90 million pound range. I think is that going to be a bit too rich for our blood? And I wouldn't actually. I think if they're, everyone probably thinks United got rinsed for Harry Maguire. Like, I'm not saying if we sign Gay that would happen to him, or we just don't want to. I can't see them paying absolutely through the nose, even if they do get a good amount of money in for Gomez.
They're apparently asking for around £65 million. Newcastle have kind of got close, but again, it's been add-ons, and it hasn't been quite what Palace want. Palace are saying 65 million quid. I put it to you, Jay. Liverpool were going to get around, the talk with the Gordon thing was Liverpool were going to get somewhere around 40 to 45 for Gomez. Can you stomach that of say, you sell Joe Gomez maybe to Newcastle, maybe to Aston Villa, to Fulham, Chelsea are very much touted with him as well, and you get 40 odd million quid, you add 25 million quid to it, and you sign Marc Guéhi. I could see that happening. If Liverpool really like the player, that's the key. They clearly do, because David Ornstein said there's appreciation of him. He's younger, he's versatile, probably isn't as good in the air, and actually, you talk about, he is an England international, he isn't perfect. I mean, he had a bit of a nightmare the other day, centre-half, that can happen, but that makes it a bit more, I think that makes it easier to stomach. If you class it as Gomez plus 20 million, it may be that, in terms of balancing the books and the fees, it makes it a little bit easier perhaps than outlaying a lot on the player.
It doesn't, I don't think it's ridiculous if it was Gomez plus 20 million. And I mean, if we don't know what Lee Carsley's going to do, but Gay was the occupier of the shirt. I guess John Stones is probably the main man, and then I know Ben White doesn't play for England, but there's others. There's White, Gomez, people around that, Branthwaite. There's not a huge amount of difference where you're like, these are clearly the best two. But Gay was the guy who had the shirt in the Euros. He's got to a final with England. He was a standout in some of their absolutely awful group games. So maybe it's fair if Palace said, right, for the current holder of the centre-back shirt for England, it's going to be another 20 million, please, lads. Then I could see them going for it, yeah. But yeah, I think, just want to repeat, that's with Vandenberg. Actually mentioning Vandenberg, we were doing a chat a couple of weeks ago about, well, he's impressed and all that. He seems to be being quite ruthless of like getting rid of Carvalho, people like that, Bobby Clark, people who we thought might hang around the squad. If they just go, no, Gomez gone, Vandenberg gone, then you need a fourth. I mean, you could argue you need another one with Canate who's injured. Maybe Nat's just going to be never imprisoned. But I was thinking about this. Do you reckon he's on like 20 grand a week?
I think he's on more. I think they rewarded him with a new contract when they didn't sell him. He's on like 60. I think he's on
60.
I think he's on quite good money now, Philip.
So he's being paid millions of pounds a year to play like 2 League Cup games and just run around with Mo Salah. Like, that's a decent life, isn't it?
It could be worse.
It's like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's got like, I feel sly on him, keep it. Oh.
He's desperate to leave, though. That's his thing. He's so desperate to leave.
He should. I mean, for him, like, I'd like him. Yeah. But, if he was the number 5 guy, I'd be all right with it again. But, I
suppose, Jay, just to tie it up, because it kind of moved on to the next point I wanted to make, and this was around Joe Gomez, and it comes again Newcastle, and it ties into the Guehi thing a little bit. It was from Luke Edwards. I'll see if I can bring it to you now. It's in the it's on the Telegraph, so it's in this story. It's within the Telegraph, which again you got to sign up for and all that.
Yeah.
But he basically says Newcastle are ready to walk away from the Guehi deal. They, like Joe Gomez, they identified him last time. It could lead to him being an option around that, a bit cheaper than Marc Guehi as well, but obviously a bit older. There's Villa, Fulham. There's all these links around with Joe. I mean, I'm just thinking merry-go-round. Newcastle buy Joe Gomez, Liverpool buy Marc Guehi, Crystal Palace get £65 million to go and buy whoever centre back in the world, maybe Sir Vandenberg because they fancy with someone. Yeah. Whoever it is, like. There are dominoes here that could fall. I don't think that's that far-fetched. It looks now. There's a lot of interest in Joe, and the fact he wasn't in the team at the weekend suggests that's smoke. There's no smoke without fire. There's fire there. I mean, it could be that he ends up at Newcastle anyway, and then the team who it feels like the links to Newcastle in the first place started all this off. The fact that Liverpool were willing to let him go to Newcastle suggests to him, I'm not in the plans anyway. I should look for a move. So it feels like. Things have almost gone a little bit full circle in that regard, and it could be a good move for Joe Gomez if Newcastle come in for him. Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? Because I saw that story, and then he did the whole season 10 thing, and you're thinking, he seems, I don't know him personally, but he seems like a nice lad. He doesn't seem like a person who would kick up a stink and, do an odd and wingy and drive to someone else's training ground, or do a statement saying he's been disrespected by the club and he can't stand on us. I don't. That's not going to happen. So they thought, all right, he's going to knuckle down. He played over 50 games for Liverpool last year, so he's going to get games this year.
His value's never higher, by the way, is it?
Yeah,
you'd think.
But yeah, like you say, possible domino effect if Slot wants to just have the versatility. I like that thing. I'm always making Man U comparisons because they ruined my childhood, but they'd have Wes Brown and John O'Shea. They were never the best player at any of the positions or across the back four, but they play Champions League semi-final. They were people who were reliable. I like having a player like that, but if Slot likes having, it's very clean, isn't it? It's like, we have 2 left backs, 2 right backs, 4 centre backs, and maybe Nat Phillips in prison, in the AXA prison. That's quite clean, isn't it? We've got 2 for every position, and maybe we get another forward, so we've got 6 forwards, and then we've got God knows how many midfielders. That seems like if he wants to do that. And the other thing about leaving him on the bench, I saw a bit of like, well, Tsimikas was fit and Bradley was fit and Canate was fit. So I'm thinking, they're saving him so he doesn't get injured, aren't they?
Paul Joyce reported it was to do with...
It's not just a selection thing. It's
Joe Gomez would have been on the bench.
Yeah.
He would have been on the bench. He absolutely would have.
So it does... That all feeds into... It looks like he's going to go. Which would be a shame. Don't get to see the Gomez goal. And his first week, it's going to be a goal for him, isn't it?
Scores on his debut for someone else, got Newcastle or something in St James's. Let's move on then, because you mentioned about other potential outgoings. We mentioned Seth Van der Beek and Passion there. Again, James Pearce had been writing in the same deal sheet that we talked about for David Ornstein before. This part's interesting to me. He says it could be a busy week for Liverpool in terms of outgoings. We know there's a lot of players, potentially leaving. Nat is one of them, Sepp's another one. Ben Doak and Tyler Morton, while Kate Gordon, Stefan Bajcetic and Owen Beck have been attracting loan interest. The fact that Ben Doak is in the sales part of that and not the loan part of that, I find that very interesting that Liverpool, it looks like, and I'm sure James' report is accurate, it looks like Liverpool might be prepared to sell Ben Doak, which, given that he was seen as one of the most, Jurgen Klopp elevated him from like 16-year-old signed in and around the first team straight away, starting Europa League games, coming on in Premier League games, and he's so young that you could loan him out if you wanted to. The fact that he could be for sale is very noteworthy, Jay.
I think that's the shocking thing, because I saw that a few weeks ago. Is his age. We've all had it a bit with Musialowski, who's just left and left on a free, where you see these videos of him beating 4 players, and and it's all the difference between full first team football and under 18s football, under 21s football is vast, and you can't. A lot of these kind of wing wizard type players have to learn the discipline of the game, and you can't just beat 4 people and score every time unless you're Lionel Messi. Like you got to learn how to work into a system and all that. But he's still, and I've seen when these links started appearing, people go, we've overrated him and he did nothing last year. I'm like, he was only 17. It was a shame that the Europa League was an ideal opportunity for him to really start impressing, and he didn't really do it much.
And then he got a big injury
in any of those games. Then he was injured. Then I saw he was in the Euro squad, and I thought, we could do a little bit off the bench for Scotland, gets injured for that. So it's been a bit of a rubbish last 6 months for him. All of these players, even Carvalho, I thought, could we have him as the 6th option? Like, there's options for, there's reasons for keeping all of these players. But as I said with the Gomez thing, I don't mind them being ruthless and going, sorry, Morton, you're a good player, but you're gone because we've got a decent fee for you. Sorry, Vandenberg, you're a good player, but we're getting Marc Guéhi in, or we're getting whoever in. I don't mind them being ruthless if they're going to do that. You can't just clear them all out and then not sign anyone in replacement. But yeah, Doak, even me and Aaron watched that last Parmas game, and he was quiet in the first half, but then it's just that, that's beating 2 or 3 players over 10 yards. It's just a natural thing that it's so exciting when you see it, especially at that young age. So I wouldn't like to see him go, because I still think there's a player in there permanently. But also I wouldn't like to see him go permanently, because even just as a business sense, if you loan him like Elliott went to Blackburn, if you loan him to a good championship side and he absolutely tears the championship up, his value's going to go up.
Well, Liverpool just got £27.5 million for Fabio Carvalho based on his champion. It wasn't based on his Liverpool form
or his Leipzig loan.
His Leipzig form. It was based on what he'd done previously at Fulham and then his loan at Hull. So you are right.
Yeah.
If the manager thinks, listen, Ben Doak's not for me, he's not what I want, I get that. I don't think the fee you get for him now is going to be that big.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I would try and
I don't think it makes good business sense. No, I think, and he's so young. You'd want him to progress in terms of higher and higher clubs, but you could even do a season in the Championship and then another season in the Championship, and he's still 20. And, ideally, I think if he did a season we've been talking about Southampton and people like that, Leicester. I don't know about lower end relegation-y sort of sides, because I always feel like when the going gets tough, those kind of wingery sort of skill players tend to be the first ones on the bench, and we'll get some good like cloggers in midfield and all that sort of thing. But yeah, not for me. But we'll see. Maybe we're just building up a huge war chest of sort of fringe players because we're going to sign Jared Branthwaite for 90 million on deadline day. You heard it here well, you didn't because you were talking about it yesterday, but
we were talking about the bookies, but listen, I mean, there's a couple of blue noses next door who are already miserable, the bottom of the league.
Well, I saw that. I'm not saying it's going to happen, right? But if they don't get sold, it's a bit like my Monzo at the moment. I've got Monzo Flex, I've got PayPal credit. You've got deadline here. They need to pay the contractors for the stadium. They've got some interest payments. So if they don't get sold by transfer deadline day, they might be thinking we could do with the 75 million here because we've got bills. You know what I mean? I'm just
throw it out there. Just saying, teasing it. Just teasing it. I refuse to believe that Liverpool are going to let Joe Gomez leave without having something lined up. Who that person is it Mark Guehhi, is it Jared Branthwaite, is it Papier?
It'd be a mic drop from Richard Hughes, wouldn't it? If like everyone's fuming and then on transfer deadline day he goes, by the way, Branthwaite's coming in.
Yeah, it would certainly ruffle some feathers. That is for sure.
Would be real.
Oh, imagine it would be ridiculous. Jay, thanks very much for coming in and brightening us up, not only with your clothes but with your sparkling personality and football insight as well. Thanks all you guys for watching or listening to this latest episode of the Liverpool News Show. We'll be back with another one on Wednesday. See you later.